I'm Roger Smith, and I'm glad you're all here. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our community to start with, and our organization, the Alamo Improvement Association, and my role there. Basically, we are a community that has about a little bit over 4,000 households. We have slightly more than 14,000 residents in those households. We're an unincorporated area, which means that we don't have city government, and we have to rely upon the county government for our services. And so our link to that is through our county supervisor's office, Candace Anderson, and her staff. Now, our local nonprofit citizens group, the Alamo Improvement Association, has served our community now. This year it's our 60th anniversary to be in kind of that role of providing a voice for our community to the county and represent our citizens. And we take pride in the fact that we've been instrumental in protecting the semi-rural environment that we have in Alamo. It's gradually going away, but we're fighting it every day to make sure that we keep as much open space and we don't have small lots and so forth. So that's an important direction for us. We have committee members that have expertise in various areas: planning, transportation, code compliance, and public safety. And they work as non-paid volunteers, if you will, to provide input to our county departments. As president, one of my duties is to provide a monthly article to our local paper, Alamo Today. And I tend to focus on public safety for a variety of reasons. And because of that, we've developed some relationship with different residents in our community that have an interest in that have background in it, engineering degrees, and have some connection to the pipeline industry as well. So how did this all come about? The nexus for this project came about because of several events. Everyone knows that California is earthquake country. I would hope that you know that. And we even have a day every year in October where we celebrate safety for earthquakes, and it's called the California Great Shakeout Day. And so some of you from California may remember that or participate in that. Well, you may also recall that last year there was a 6.0 earthquake in Napa, California. It occurred in August of 2014, just about 16 months ago or less. And that particular earthquake had a 9-mile-long surface rupture that destroyed a good portion of the Napa downtown, as well as a number of wineries were affected and so forth. That earthquake was generated along the fault line shown in this diagram and on a new fault line that's connected to it, starting with the northern end of the Calaveras fault line to the south, continuing through what is known as the Contra Costa shear zone to the West Napa fault line to the north. And it goes right through Alamo. And we've had pipeline incidents within the recent past. Michael alluded to the incident on the Kinder Morgan pipeline in 2004. A third-party contractor struck the pipe and broke a portion of it, and there was an igniter, and that resulted in 5 workers being killed, 4 were injured, and several homes were burned. And that occurred within a half a mile of the Alamo border with its neighboring city, Walnut Creek. In 2010, PG&E had a pipeline explode in the city of San Bruno. That's been something that's been discussed at these conferences over the last few years, killing 8 people, injuring 58, destroyed 38 homes, and damaged another 70 homes. So San Bruno is 38 miles from Alamo. Our Kinder Morgan pipeline is located within the easement for a well-known and heavily used pedestrian trail known as the Iron Horse Corridor. Pipeline is approximately 60 years old, transports fuel products to the San Jose airport, including diesel, kerosene, and high-octane gasoline at pressures above 1,100 pounds per square inch. This photo shows the pipeline traversing a seasonal creek bed. The pipeline is encased in concrete within a second larger pipe for protection. Adjacent to these two seasonal creek crossings are private properties with mature trees that could fall and damage the pipeline. And Kinder Morgan was asked to assist one property owner to remove a tree on their property that threatened the pipeline and did so. However, other mature trees still are there. At various areas along the Iron Horse Corridor, there are electric lines either crossing the corridor or running within the corridor, which during an earthquake could be damaging or create a potential source of ignition. Some electric line poles appear to be placed within close proximity, about 1 foot from the area designated for the pipeline. 2 neighborhoods and 1 elementary school located on Hemi and Camille each have only a single road access or egress across the Iron Horse Corridor and pipeline, which would be of concern for anyone who lives there, or certainly if you have a student in that school. Should an emergency occur, they may not have an avenue for escape. Manual valves, believed to have been installed with the pipeline originally, are placed at various locations. This valve is located at the north end of Alamo, and the next valve on the pipeline is located on the southern end of Danville, 8 miles to the south. Because the pipeline travels at a slight elevation, even after turning off the pumping for the pipeline, a significant amount of fuel product could travel to a breach and escape before the manual valve is closed. Even when closed, the worst-case scenario for our community would be having almost 8 miles of fuel product escape. During the San Bruno PG&E explosion, it took their maintenance crew more than 1 hour to reach the site and manually turn off those valves. So, having these circumstances within our community, we, with our supervisor's initial direction and Michael Kent's assistance, applied for and received a technical assistance grant from PHMSA. I can say this, it was a long and detailed process. We received a generous amount of assistance from PHMSA staff. It was well worth it to do, the time spent, and yes, we would do it again. The use of the grant funding included training for our local San Ramon Valley Fire District, first responders in petroleum pipeline emergencies. The training was conducted by Philip Oakes, the recognized trainer for the National Association of State Fire Marshals. We were able to train 100 first responders over a 4-day period and had additional train-the-trainer training for their supervisors so that the program could be self-perpetuating. Also, I would like to thank Pete Murphy from Kinder Morgan for being able to participate in those training sessions. Funding also was used for promotion of Call 811 Before You Dig as a resource for information and to direct Alamo residents to the office responsible for utility marking for Northern California and Nevada properties, which happens coincidentally to be in our county. So that was an interesting process that we learned through that. The majority of funding was used for what was initially to be one pipeline safety educational workshop for Alamo residents, but that became 2 with a second workshop for county residents. Our process was first to contract with Pipeline Safety Trust and then develop a project committee that included representatives from the county government, our supervisor's office, and our community. We sought advice and suggestions from all parties, and through this input and assistance, Michael Kent then asked for and received a co-sponsorship from our County Hazardous Materials Commission. This helped us in 2 ways. It provided credibility for our workshops as we went out to invite those industry and regulatory stakeholders to participate and also involved the Commission at an early point in the process for their continuing input. We were fortunate that our committee members were all very interested in the project, were of high quality, and had professional skills and expertise that greatly assisted in development of the workshops. The process required a high degree of collaboration. Our conference calls were on a bi-weekly basis starting from this last January and continuing through our workshop dates in June, with a lot of steps in between. On a side note, through our shared interest and concerns, over the course of working on the project, we developed a personal friendship among the committee members. It was our intention to have workshops with panel participants from both industry and regulatory agencies able to answer specific questions about pipeline safety. To do so, we needed to provide, through a series of letters and phone conversations, an initial invitation, discussion of the project, an outline of the workshop, and then a listing of potential questions. Then, a detailed agenda, and finally, a more detailed listing of questions to enable panel participants to be as fully prepared as possible to discuss these areas in detail. Another part of the project was to promote the value of these workshops to the public through posters, mailings to those residents located along the pipeline, articles and notices in our local papers, newsprint and online, use of Nextdoor.com, which is an excellent online tool for neighborhoods, and also providing press releases to develop interest in our workshops. Our panel consisted of experienced professionals, each with their own area of expertise and abilities to assist in our pipeline safety education workshops, and with the willingness to take their valuable time to participate in this project. This is a photo of our initial Alamo-based workshop. We had to schedule our events at both local and county facilities well in advance. At the workshop, we provided each attendee with a summary page to both manage their expectations and takeaways from the workshop, along with instructions for them on the process of asking questions. We invited and had in attendance representatives from our local CERT, Community Emergency Response Team group. Our Deputy Fire Chief, David Kraus, was in attendance, and for crowd control issues and remaining in the background, we had one of our local deputy sheriffs on standby should any craziness develop during the meeting. Well, what did we learn from this experience? Speaking for AIA, we realized that we initially did not clearly understand or anticipate all of the panel participants' concerns, which were primarily centered on the press reporting for the project, essentially on the fairness of press reporting. Also, there apparently was not enough opportunities for industry and regulatory agencies to present their perspective on safety in a proactive setting. So this project was not as familiar as others they have worked on. And finally, and probably most important, our community organization was just not well known to either Kinder Morgan or to the State Fire Marshal's office. Early on, we determined that to allow audience members to take control of the microphone was not a good thing. So we provided each attendee with a question card to complete and then had roving staff to pick up and deliver those question cards to our moderator, Michael Kent. This eliminated any grandstanding or hijacking of our meeting by individuals with their own agenda. We asked professionals to comment in our community to provide questions in advance of the meeting, along with having a series of questions provided to Michael for his use in making sure all of the basic areas of interest were covered during the meeting. The opportunity to have workshop number 1 and workshop number 2 on June 3rd and on June 6th, respectively, enabled each of our panel participants to fine-tune their presentation and to focus on key questions. We did feel both workshops were very well managed, but the second one had a sense of better timing and rhythm and a more professional tone. Each panel participant could anticipate items better, and it seemed that it was more of a cohesive group. We had previously scheduled the second workshop for videotaping for those unable to attend the workshops. This became important as a follow-up because after both workshops, we were asked by attendees if this would be available. The 2-hour video is posted on the Contra Costa County website and ours as well if you'd like to review it in full.
We received no royalties.
We did not get paid, did we? Okay. As part of this project, the Pipeline Safety Trust has provided a detailed report to AIA, Alamo, and our county, which includes 39 specific recommendations on safety issues for our local, regional, state, and even national government considerations. This report has been initially reviewed and endorsed in principle by our County Hazardous Materials Commission with the intent to review each recommendation that applies to our local county and offer specific comments. The report is now on the County Board of Supervisors' agenda for review and action as well. The county is determining the best way to distribute the report to all 19 municipalities within our county to secure their review and cooperation. Our challenges included leaving some questions asked about the safety education workshops unanswered because of limitations of public disclosure, information that either cannot be divulged for professional reasons or the possibility of threats to infrastructure. We have been told results from integrity testing and seismic studies on pipelines are not available to the public, and some Alamo residents left the meeting feeling that they did not get enough specific information about their circumstances. Involving the press can be a two-edged sword. Pipeline issues are complex and require diligent research on the part of the reporter to provide a balanced and informative article, not a hit piece to just sell papers. We are fortunate to interest a local reporter that had experience with the industry, was dedicated to providing a detailed and thorough review. We discovered the schools have done little planning for pipeline safety and evacuation. We've discovered that neighborhoods have no planning for pipeline safety and evacuation. We discovered that schools and neighborhoods do not talk to each other about these issues. We discovered the county does not include in their review of development projects a checklist that includes impacts to existing neighborhood access and egress problems, so existing properties and problems can be addressed and new problems are not created. This issue is under the radar. Although we take pride in what we achieved, we did not get to the level of questions and answers and information reporting that we had wanted, and I guess my time is up. We would choose to work even more closely with our governmental officials, regulatory agencies, and industry to secure that information in the future, and would explore all options to do so. So our work isn't done. We have lots to do. We didn't expect it to kind of end when we got the report. I think there's a great deal of interest in seeing how that report works its way through our local county government and to see what transpires from it. We know there's some interest there among our elected officials. I think it's a matter of seeing if there's enough momentum, critical mass, I guess, to see this thing forward. I thank you for your attention today.